Well, g'day fishos and welcome to the long weekend. Yes, it is Friday, fishing report time, and we're just about the eve of a long weekend. How good's that? For some, I'll be working, but it's all good. The weather looks sensational. Looking at the forecast, we've got some nor'westers Saturday. 15 knots maybe. I think it's more towards Newcastle. Port Stephens might be okay, but just be aware of that northwester on Saturday. Sunday, light nor'westers. Monday, glamour, light nor'easters. So, it looks like a glamour weekend. No rain in sight, as per the forecast anyway. So, if you can believe the forecast, but it does look like a good weekend for fishing. It looks like a good weekend to be away. So, plenty of visiting anglers to Port Stephens at the moment. It's been a busy week, that is for sure. And the fishing is sensational, that is for sure, definitely. Starting in the estuary, well, I tell you what, the talk of the town is tuna action in the bay. And when I mean tuna action, yep, long tails, but also mac tuna and also bonito. The bay is alive. It reminds me of my old days, well, a couple of old days actually, geez, I'm feeling the age, of back in the early 90s when I was a kid, when the mac tuna used to get in the bay, used to feed on the frogmouth pilchards and the whitebait. The bay used to be covered in it and they disappeared for a long time. But also when I go to Harvey Bay each year, it's the same up there. So, bring it on. So, lots of long tails, mac tunas in the bay, lots of boats chasing them. Now, the key to it, and all I can tell you is, from my years of experience doing it, is you just got to switch everything off. And you got to be patient. And yes, you got to fish those small lures. So, those armory anchovies, those 11 grammers and the 18s, have just been flying out the door. We just got restocked yesterday. I think we put about 200 on the wall. Probably sold half of that already. So, the armory anchovies, but you got to have long distance casting. I suggest fishing something like a 4,000 to 5,000, 20 pound braid, 20 pound leader. I changed the hooks out on those little anchovies to a single hook, and you've just got to be patient. Long casts into the schools. Don't drive up on, drive through them. What you're going to do is create a little bit of confusion, a little bit of panic, and you're not going to catch a fish. So be patient. Fishing's all about being patient, and those tuna schools, you've got to be patient. That is for sure. So, interesting in the bay at the moment, those long tails mac tuna and also bonito and a few salmon, actually. There's been a few salmon. Young Koyo's been going to Little Beach Wharf each afternoon, each morning when he can. First light, last light. I reckon that kid's got a lithium battery stuck somewhere because he just fishes. But catching some nice salmon down off Little Beach Wharf as well. So the salmon have been down there. Just be mindful, there is a sanctuary zone down there. A few people have got a little bit excited and followed those fish into that sanctuary zone. Unfortunately, you can't follow them in. You've got to stand still. So, but there's been some salmon down there on the tide change. Nelson Bay Breakwell still produces some really good brims. We've got some good tides at the moment, especially that after dark incoming tide. Fishing really well for bream. A few Ludric holding on down there. Wouldn't say they're full on, but there are a few Ludrics still down there at the moment. The tides this weekend for the estuary look really good. So we've got that incoming all morning, which will be really good. And speaking of which, that incoming tide of a morning, good for flatties. So if you're keen on chasing your flatties, there are some absolute beauties around at the moment. Up the Tillagary there, I noticed Trent got an absolute beauty with his kids, 90 centimetres. Absolute beauty on a small hard body. So up in the shallows, the big lizards are at the moment getting that warmth of the daytime sun, because it has been a little bit chilly. We've had those changes during the week, those southerlies. So they're up there getting a bit of warmth, but they are chewing, that's for sure. So definitely worth a flatty fish. Up the Karura as well. To be worth also hugging around Soldiers Point, Taylor's Beach, all that area in the shallows at the moment. So plenty of flatties around. If you're going to be shore-based, try places like Corlette and the very end of Shoal Bay, up towards the old disability hospital early morning on that incoming tide. A few blue swimmers starting to kick about, and the odd muddy. We're starting to sell a few traps, so if you're keen on doing that, might be worth dropping the pots in this weekend and getting a feed of blue swimmers. Usual haunts up North Arm Cove, up towards the entrance of the Karura, and up the Tillagary there at the moment for your blue swimmers. If you're keen on doing that this weekend. A few mulloway around as well. We're on the new moon. The tide are definitely worth chasing mulloway this weekend if you're keen on doing that. The usual haunts up around Soldiers Point there. If you can get some live bait and fish that incoming tide, you'll do pretty well, I reckon, on the mulloway up around that area. I know I spoke to Paul from Fishport Stephens Estuary Charters. He's been getting some mulloway up that way as well. So definitely worth a fish in the bay this weekend. Now on the rocks and the beach. Now the beach, Fingal, produced some cracking bream this week. We sent a couple of people up there this week and got some really, really nice bream. So some good bream still on the beach, tailor and salmon as well. Haven't heard of too many whiting at the moment. There's the odd one, but they haven't really fired up just yet, but they would be there, I'm assuming. But target those bream, salmon and tailor at the moment on the beaches. So Fingal fishing well up towards the spit. Barubie will be open this weekend, I'm assuming, because we had no swell this week. So just check the national parks there. I don't know what they do sometimes, but Barubie should be open this week, and Barubie will fish pretty well. That early morning incoming tide will do all right, and that afternoon or into the evening tide, I think it'll be about 9, 10 o'clock high. That'd be ideal, especially when we come into daylight savings. Don't forget, I'm pretty sure it's this weekend. Double check on that one, but I know I'm putting my clock forward on Sunday night. So yippee-ki-yay, daylight savings will be here. So definitely worth fishing the beaches over the weekend. Now the rocks, there won't be too much swell with that nor'wester, but it might be worth a shot around the rocks if you can find a little bit of wash there. Definitely, there's still a few drummer around, still a few bream around. I know there's been some reports of tailor and salmon down off 1 mile, and also Boat Harbour down that way as well. And also down at Cemetery Point there, tailor, salmon, and a few luddos or ludrick off the rocks there as well. So worth a rock fish this weekend if you want to give it a crack. It's just going to be the swell. Not much swell, so you're going to have to look for those outer points where the swell is creating a little bit of wash, I think, to find a few fish. In saying that, though, take a squid jig with you, because I know this week there's been a few nice squid around off the rocks, so definitely worth doing that. Now, if you are keen, get some stick baits, or if you want to put a live squid out, it is the time of the year we're finding that the spring kingies are starting to turn up in the shallows. And I got sent a nice photo of a fish caught yesterday. So there are some nice kings starting to turn up in the shallows at the moment. So worth a shot throwing a stick bait around, or even a live squid, live yakka off the rocks at the moment. You might find one of those better sized kings at the moment. Now on the offshore scene, so some good stuff around this week, although the weather hindered a little bit, but there are some good reds around, some good kings around. Like I said just then, Dan sent me a photo yesterday of a really nice fish on a plastic up towards Broughton. So there has been some good kings in the shallows at the moment. So if you're keen on doing a bit of skip baiting, we'll do that later on in the year. Stick baiting, then definitely get up and try a few kings, especially up on the inner Edith, outer Edith, and in the shallows around Broughton, around the Sisters. Definitely worth a look at Fingal Point there too. You get a little bit of current that pushes in on Fingal there, especially around that big Tommy Bommy. And the kings do stack up there at times, especially when the current pushes from the north. So definitely worth a shot on the kings. Some good time to go and catch a red with that new moon as well. The big gibberel fish good too, I think, this weekend. That little bit deeper water, those 40-metre marks, will fish pretty good as well. Around the islands, definitely worth throwing a bait into the washes at first light for a snapper. Be able to troll around the islands if you want to troll for the kids, tailor and salmon, especially off Fingal there. Around the front of Box Beach there, you usually get some tailor on first light as well. So definitely worth a shot fishing the washes. Now offshore, we've got a little bit of current pushing from the north, but it looks pretty good. It's going to be one of those weekends, I think, that'd be worth fishing the shelf if you want to go bottom fishing and chase a few bar cod, head up to Allmark and catch a few kings. Because looking at the altimetry and also the current situation, we haven't got too much current on the shelf at the moment. So it looks pretty good. There is a good stream of water pushing down from the north, about 21.5 to 22 degrees. I think once that gets to us, it'll be a bit of a trigger point to see a couple of striped marlin turn up along the shelf. So a weekend, I think, especially come Sunday, Monday, to head to the shelf and maybe have a bit of a bottom fish out there for a few barries, a few kingies, longfin sea perch, all that kind of goodies out on the edge there, that is for sure. So that's it. Pretty good report this week, and glamour weekend coming up. So make the most of it. We will be open all weekend. I'll be here 6 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Not sure where I'll turn up Monday, but we'll see what happens. But it's going to be a great weekend, and we are open all weekend. So get out there and enjoy.